Hello, friends from Concacafing. I know it's been a while, but we are back, and there's a lot of information to share with you because if you're a CONCACAF groupie, you have definitely heard about the Gold Cup prelims, and we're going to explain all about it. But before we do that, I would like to welcome my friend and co-host Alex Banegas to talk about the Gold Cup. We finally know all the teams that will be playing the Gold Cup this summer. 14 venues, 13 different cities, including Saudi Arabia as a guest team in the CONCACAF, the biggest, largest, and most important nationwide tournament organized by CONCACAF. Alex, some surprises, some big upsets. Some people are not happy, but how are you?
I am doing well, Camilo. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. I wanted to be here so bad, and I was expecting you to start in order. Before Gold Cup prelims, it was Nations League. Obviously, you don't want to talk about Nations League because
We can
it's
talk about Nations League, of course.
it's a big upset for you. It's a big. You were not expecting Panama to come into the final. Obviously, you are the one that always says that CONCACAF tournaments are made only for Mexican and national teams and national teams and club teams. So obviously, by Panama being on the final, you do not want to talk about this. This is something that you want to avoid. This is something that you do not want to talk about because all your conspiracy theories have been deleted, are gone. They're no more. Why? Because Panama is the biggest Central America team that was on the final for Nations League. So I wanted to be here so bad, and obviously I wanted to talk about Gold Cup, which had no surprises for me. Uh, the only upset for me was not seeing Nicaragua in Gold Cup, but we can talk about it. Why, and we can discuss many reasons why Nicaragua is not in Gold Cup, and it's time to move on and obviously replace their coach. How are you, Camilo?
Well, I warned you about Nicaragua not being in the Gold Cup, but if you want to start with Nations League, I have no issues starting with Nations League. A couple months ago, in the Spanish version of CONCACAF, which you're welcome to visit, it's called Acción CONCACAF, and you can find us on social media and our YouTube channel as well. So if you're bilingual and you want to enjoy our content in both languages, you're welcome to visit us at Acción CONCACAF and also visit our website, accionconcacaf.com. I told you some months ago that Mauricio Pochettino was not the right choice for the United States nationals men team.
Yeah.
And you said that you didn't understand why, because he had trained in or coach in PSG, because he had coach in Spain, because he knew I don't know how many gnomes and dragons and all the stories that you build around your ideas. But time makes me be right, as it usually happens, because Mauricio Pochettino took the best team in CONCACAF and made it the fourth team in the region. And that speaks a lot about this fail process that the Argentinian coach is starting. Now, you will defend Mauricio Pochettino as much as you want, but I can tell you that the big responsible for the break between the United States total control over CONCACAF region, his name is Mauricio Pochettino.
I don't believe so. I think Mauricio Pochettino has a great career, has a great resume. What I think is it's time to do what the United States did 8 years ago, which means you need to look for new players. You need to start developing new players. Why? And you can play all the music that you want. I mean, the truth is that Mauricio Pochettino doesn't have the team that Greg Berhalter had back in the days. Obviously, there is a reason why Mauricio Pochettino did not make it to the final. And yes, I agree with you. I agree with you in the sense that Mauricio Pochettino did not play to win against Panama. He was not expecting. For me, Mauricio Pochettino did not know anything about Panama and did not know anything about how Panama plays, and he was actually very calm and he thought that he had it under control, not knowing that Panama was actually going to look for the final. So yes,
Hold on.
if he's,
Stop
if
right
he's
there.
wait,
You
if
are
he's at
telling
fault,
me
if he's at
you are
fault in the
telling
game,
me that a guy who makes $6 million and who is leading the project for the World Cup 2026, where the United States will be host, didn't do his work, didn't do his homework, didn't research, didn't identify
Yep.
the team he was going to be facing,
That's
and you're still telling me he's the right man to lead this squad?
I did not
No,
say that. I did not say.
you are telling me that he didn't have all the staff he needed. Who? He had Pulisic, he had McKinney, he had Matt Turner, he had Wea. Who?
Where were the fans? He does not have support, Camilo.
Fans don't win games.
No, and I completely understand
Fans
that.
don't win games.
I completely understand that. But what I'm saying is something has changed within the U.S. Soccer Federation, and we have to know what it is. And obviously, there's one person to blame. Yes, let's blame Mauricio Pochettino for not knowing Panama and being irresponsible. But let me tell you something. Pochettino's salary, the $6 million a year, or whatever you want to say, it does not play on the field either. His fault was not to know Panama. His fault it was not to know Thomas Christiansen, Panama head coach. So that was his problem because he did not do his homework. And you said it right. But there is something happening within the U.S. Soccer Federation that we need to understand, and we need to investigate, and we need to dig a little bit deeper, so we can actually know what's going on. There's got to be a reason why Mauricio Pochettino, you can tell that he's not comfortable with the U.S. national team. Why? We don't know that. But if there's going to be a change, if something going to change with the U.S. soccer,
he doesn't know the culture. He doesn't know the players. He will not adapt. And let me tell you something right now. If U.S. soccer is looking for the right man to lead the United States to the 2026 World Cup, I have a name.
No, don't start. No, Camilo.
I have a name.
No, Camilo.
I have a name.
Do not start with that.
I have a name for the U.S. Federation. I have the right guide for you. I can tell you who the person who should be in charge of your national team should be, and who will make a successful USA national team.
Who is
the name? Yes. You want to hear the name? Thomas Christiansen. That's the right for you to go. That's the right guy for you to go. He knows the region. He knows the region pretty well. He has built a program from scratch.
But I think you're being disrespectful. He's actually not looking for a job right now. He's with Panama.
He struggled to beat Dominica in his first game, and we all spoke about him. Look what he's done with Panama.
Yeah.
So if the United States wants a coach that it's maybe not big with marketing and with TV stations, Thomas Christiansen. Now, we're talking about the worst team. Listen,
but he's not looking for a job right now. Wait. Wait a minute. But Thomas Christiansen is not looking for a job. He's with the national team of Panama. He will go. He will lead Panama to the World Cup, and he will stay in Panama. I don't think Thomas Christiansen, because he has already happened. You know, many teams have offered Thomas Christiansen money to go with them, or national teams to go with them. He stayed in Panama. Why? Because he's happy in Panama. He wants to be in Panama, and he wants to take Panama to the next World Cup.
We all want to improve. If you bring a good, solid project,
but he's not looking for a job. He's not going to come to the U.S.
This is a big upgrade. But listen, we are spending a lot of time talking about the worst team in Nations League. Let's talk about the best teams in Nations League.
Yeah, because we talk about Panama, because you always said that these tournaments are made for Panama, for United States and Mexico.
Well, you talk about a conspiracy theory, and then and we will talk about this in the next Concacafing podcast.
Yeah,
soccer podcast. So
I thought so.
Stay tuned. But all the conspiracy theories are supported by CONCACAF's president coming to support a Mexican team when FIFA has said you can't play the club's World Cup. And here comes Montagliani and all the CONCACAF structure to defend their interest, which is a Mexican side. But we will talk about this in our next podcast. So stay tuned. I want to talk to you about the best team in the Nations League, which was Mexico. You know what Mexico did, Alex? You know what Mexico did?
What did
they removed themselves from the idea of bringing coaches with high profiles who have 7 pictures taken with Leo Messi and who jokes with Cristiano Ronaldo. And you know what they did? They brought someone who knows the culture. They brought someone who knows the players. They brought someone who understands Mexican football. His name, Javier Aguirre, El Vasco. Experience, but above all, he knows what he's working with. Here are the results. And we have questioned a lot the Mexican process because it's a process that doesn't reach its peak. Now, Javier Aguirre comes back, takes his team, rebuilds it, adds that Mexicanism to the team that had been lacking for the last, 6 years with Osorio, with Martino, with Cesar, with whoever has been coaching the Mexican team. A Mexican came back with experience, with complete understanding of the surroundings, and he makes Mexico come back. Now, he's been asked about his team not playing pretty. You know what he said?
It's about efficiency.
We're winning.
Yeah, it's about efficiency. And that's
so
what
Mexico came back. Mexico claimed back his control over the CONCACAF region.
But I think it's people is right to question how Mexico is playing right now, because if you want to win against Germany in a World Cup, if you want to win against Panama, against Spain, if you want to win against Italy, you're going to have to win. You're going to have to play better than what you're doing right now. So, people has that right to question Aguirre. However, I think right now he's more about efficiency than playing pretty or playing amazing. So he's right. But is that efficiency going to be enough to win in the World Cup? So that's why we have to question, and that's why people is actually questioning the process. But I think Mexico is winning. You finally see a Mexican national team going against their rival, looking for the goal on the rivals team. So you see a Mexico with passion. You see a Mexico playing with heart, and that's what we were lacking in the last 6 or 8 years. The Mexican national team has actually been declining. So I am happy for Mexico. Congratulations to the Federation of Mexico, to Vasco Aguirre, to all the fans from the Mexican national team. But I think now they're going to start to worry about, or they need to start worrying about more than efficiency. They need to start playing better. So that's the point.
So we can finally say, México, lindo y querido, it's back.
Yeah, Mexico lindo is back. Mexico lindo is querido.
With a good coaching staff. Now, the big surprise in Nations League was Panama.
Yeah.
Which is it a surprise? This team has been working seriously for 5 years. This is a 5-year process that is now kind of peaking what they planted 5 years ago with a coach that understands this team. Pay attention to this. Panama came to this CONCACAF Nations League without their starter right defensive winger, Michael Amir Murillo, without their started left defensive winger, Eric Davies, without their starter central back, Andres Andrade, without their starting creative midfielder, Edgar Bárcenas. All 4 starters, all 4 members of the keystone for Thomas Christiansen, and with a group of players that had never been called up. Carlos Harvey. Does that name ring a bell to you?
Yeah.
Do you think our CONCACAFing friends know a lot about Carlos Harvey?
But that's what the coach do, Camilo. That's what his Tomas Christiansen has actually been able to do in Panama, having more than 80 players outside their country, and in what we usually call legendarios. I think that's an advantage that Panama has over any other Central American national team, and he's doing it right. You mentioned Harvey, you mentioned a couple of players, and this is going to lead us to the next conversation that I know you want to talk about, because we need to talk about, because we're almost closing the show, but we want to talk about Gold Cup. So this topic will lead us to what we can expect from Panama in Gold Cup. I think Panama has a great opportunity to be one of the best teams in Gold Cup. Why not dreaming of having Panama at least in a semifinal of Gold Cup? So let's see. Let's hope Panama can continue that level of play and be competitive, so we can actually see Panama. Why not? Maybe in the final of Gold Cup.
And any team in CONCACAF who was counting with 3 spots for the World Cup, you need to stop doing that right now, and you need to start thinking about 2 or one spot available, because one of those belongs to Panama.
Yeah,
Undisputed. There's no question about that.
that's for sure. If you
Panama
ask
will
me,
be in the World Cup.
if you ask me, it's obviously the three already qualified national teams, which are Mexico, Canada, and the United States, followed by Panama, Costa Rica, and Jamaica. If you ask me today, that's my ranking, and that's my those are my teams to qualify in that order for the next World Cup. So
I think you're finally jumping into the Reggae Boys bandwagon. Is that right? Finally, I've convinced you that Jamaica is a strong team in the CONCACAF region.
It's not that you convince me. It's about it's about numbers. It's about games. It's about being analytic. And Jamaica, they may not play beautiful. They may not play the perfect game. However, they play strong. They see their rivals and they don't. They don't speculate about them. They go out and play. They go out and win, and that's the key for Jamaica. Like I said, they may not have the best players in CONCACAF. They may not have the big contracts for their coaches and players in CONCACAF. However, Jamaica has been a process. Jamaica has been actually being one of the good teams in CONCACAF since maybe about 4 years ago, and then they have been able to keep that level of game. They have been able to keep that that enthusiasm, and I think that's the key. With the amount of soccer that we've seen from Jamaica, it's going to be more than enough to beat whoever they're going to have to face in the qualifying games.
And let's talk quickly about Canada. Canada has ups and downs. This Jesse March squad that it kind of keeps falling short from the expectations. Maybe expectations were placed too high from the previous years with Canada.
By you?
It seems, for example, I felt weird that Jesse March insists in bringing Alphonso Davies back as a left defensive winger, removing him from what
he's offensive
had been doing, which was using him as an offensive winger. I think Alphonso Davies is
more offensive winger.
I mean, he plays left defensive winger with Bayern Munich at a different level. I think Alphonso Davies for our region as an offensive left winger, it could have a higher impact with the Canadian national team. Yet this team plays well. Dejan Buchanan has dropped a little bit his level. He's not even a starter with this Canadian team anymore. Ahmed has taken over that right wing. It seems the big stars of this Canadian team, Jonathan David, has also dropped a little bit his level. And so we saw those ups and highs with Canada and how much they struggle to be effective in that last third of their offensive.
If you ask me today, I don't think Canada is going to be one of the teams to watch in Gold Cup. Why? Because they have those up and downs, and they've been having more downs than up. Once I remember you putting Canada as the best team in CONCACAF and saying that they were going to do good in the World Cup, and oh my God, those are the best players that CONCACAF had at that moment. So I don't think Canada is even going to do anything in Gold Cup. For me, I think Canada's moment has already vanished. And we're going to see a couple of teams in CONCACAF that we need to be following, and we need to be actually starting what they're doing over the field, which is obviously Panama and Mexico. And be careful there, because there's a Costa Rica that we're not talking much, but Costa Rica level has actually been improving with El Piojo Herrera.
It just went to the future and came back. I want to tell you, semifinals for World Cup, for Gold Cup are going to be United States, Mexico, Canada, and Panama.
I don't think United States will be in the semifinals.
United States, Mexico, Canada, and Panama. Because
you said that because of that theory that you have that the tournaments are made for Mexico and the United States. I
told you this is an issue for our next podcast. We'll come back to this.
Yeah, but you're going to the same topic.
I'll school you. Now, results, like you saw in the previous video, 7 spots were left for 14 teams fighting. And I believe, does production have something for us here?
Maybe so.
Let's see. Yeah, this were the matchup. So Costa Rica, Belize, Jamaica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honduras, Bermuda, Guatemala, Guyana, TNT against Cuba, Martinique, Suriname, Nicaragua against Guadeloupe. So when the draw was, well, not the draw, but when
Qualifications.
when the CONCACAF decided who was going to play who, I told you, I know people think this Nicaraguan process is very strong, but the rival across the street is stronger. And some people, like you, told me that that was crazy, that the process that Nicaragua was having was strong enough to come up and move past Guadalupe. Now, this is a team we know little about, and I'll tell you why. It's not a FIFA team, it's only a CONCACAF national team. This means Guadalupe doesn't play FIFA tournaments, they only play CONCACAF tournaments. So, this is a team that we see very little, kind of what happens with Martinique. But this is a great team. This is a team with players playing at really high levels. Bulgarian first division, Ukrainian first division, Germany first division, Swiss first division. We don't have those in our region. So this is a team that's very strong. At the end, Guadalupe won the match.
The prelims.
At home, and then they won in Managua as well with a global score of 2-0, and they kicked Nicaragua out. Was Nicaragua a big disappointment for you?
Yes, it was, and it was a big disappointment, but it was expected. To me, having a coach like Marco Antonio Figueroa, known as El Fantasma, it's a problem because sooner or later that's going to have and that's going to ruin your locker room. And I think that's what that's Nicaragua's situation right now. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how many teams you've coached. I don't care how many tournaments you've won. If you don't have the right personality, and if you're not humble enough, that's going to get you sooner or later. And I think that's the problem that Nicaragua has at this moment. Marco Antonio Figueroa talks a lot about what his career has been, talk about what he has done, but he's not concerned on the level of how Nicaragua is playing right now. I think he's not concentrating in Nicaragua. I think he wants to be somewhere else. I think he's in Nicaragua because he has nowhere else to go, because nobody wants him, because nobody will want a coach with the attitude that he has, which is a horrible attitude against players, against rival teams, against anybody who questions him. So I think that's the problem that Nicaragua has. The time for Nicaragua to change the route, the time for Nicaragua to do something about it, if they want to at least be competitive in the next qualification games for World Cup, it's replacing Marco Antonio Figueroa now. Mexico have done it, US have done it, Honduras did it, Panama did it, and got an amazing coach with Tomas Christiansen. I don't care how good you are. If you put Tomas Christiansen, the best coach in Central America right now, and you put Marco Antonio Figueroa, which has won nothing, because he has won nothing. Tomas Christian has professionalism, he has knowledge, and he's very humble. And I think that's the key for a coach to be on a national team. I think Marco Antonio Figueroa doesn't have any qualities to be on a Nicaragua team. And I think the time for answers, the time to change the route for Nicaragua, it's now.
Now, Guatemala lost to Guyana and in Guyana, and then they were able to come back to Guatemala City and win 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me, will Guatemala win by a lot of goals? And I told you, no, they won't, but they will win. Did Guatemala do enough to sustain your theory of them being one of the strongest teams in CONCACAF?
Guatemala did what they were supposed to do. Guatemala won, not with the best level of play. However, I think Guatemala did what Mexico is doing. They're efficient. They're efficient. That's what matters right now. But we have to question: is that efficiency enough for Guatemala to fight for a ticket for the World Cup? I don't believe so. I think Guatemala is playing just enough to go by. Lately, we have seen Guatemala level going down. Guatemala has always had up and downs. There have been more downs than up lately, but they have an amazing coach. They have a good coach. They have an experienced coach. But there's things that we have to think about. You go to your rivals goals, and you go and you kick the ball, and you can just not make goals. You have midfield, you have a decent defensive line, but you have midfield, you have somebody that goes to your rivals goals, and you don't make the goals. There's not much that the coach can do. However, I think Guatemala's problem is that I don't really understand why Central American teams, and I put Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Well, Honduras, you can understand why. In Costa Rica, you can understand why. The same thing as Panama. I don't know why El Salvador, Guatemala, and Nicaragua, they want to keep going with air balls. You go in a corner kick, and you want to kick, you want to look for a header. Why? You have, and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, your players are maybe 5'4". Like for Nicaragua, Guadalupe players, they were like 6'2", 6'1". They're going to win all the balls when you try to do an air ball. So I mean, those things, it's hard to understand why. And to answer your question, and to go back to the answer to your question, is Guatemala is just doing enough, which is going to be, is it enough for the World Cup? I don't think so.
Costa Rica wiped Belize out, and this has to be a call for CONCACAF and the format,
Yeah.
because it was too much of a gap
Well, but
between
that's the things you have to play, Camilo. What do you want?
one team and the other. Costa Rica won both games with the total score of 13-1. That was the advantage. Honduras beat Bermuda. They had a rough start in the first game, but like Guatemala, I think we can say Honduras did what they were expected to do, and they moved past a team or a rival that tried, but was obviously that it was obviously beat by the best team. Now, there's a team that has been working very quietly in the CONCACAF region and that has grown amazingly. Suriname. Suriname has been able to reach out to Surinamese players in the Netherlands, and this increases the level of their national team. They won both games at home and in Martinique 1-0 to move on and make a second back-to-back appearance at Gold Cup. Suriname is a team that will continue to grow, and maybe not this World Cup, but it's a team that you have to pay attention to.
Is it enough when you face Martinique to know exactly where you are as a soccer team? Maybe not. I want to see Suriname playing against really difficult teams in the area, which Mexico, even US, Panama, against teams as Honduras is not playing the best, but I want to see Suriname facing stronger teams and see if there actually has grown. Because when you play Martinica, no disrespect at all, we cannot for sure say that they're doing better or they have they have grown. So I want to see Suriname playing in a more competitive level, so that way we can actually see and expect better things in the future for them.
The big disappointment for me in the prelims was Cuba. Cuba was completely dominated by Trinidad and Tobago. This team is now led by former superstar Dwight York, and they're doing things amazing. This is a team that it's going to be growing, and we're going to be talking a lot about the Soca Warriors. They went to Cuba, they won 1-2, and then they won 4-0 their home game to move on and be again at a Gold Cup.
I think Cuba is going to continue to have this disappointments as long as they have, and we don't talk about politics here, but as long as they have the politics that they have, as long as they have the situation that they have with their best players playing outside Cuba, I think they're going to continue to have these upsets and these disappointments throughout any CONCACAF tournament. I don't see Cuba going out of this anytime soon because of what we know, but I would love to see a Cuba with all their players like once we did what we did once. I think Cuba has an amazing pool of talents. Unfortunate that they cannot count with them, especially the players that they're not participating in the Cuban league. If you have a professional Cuban league, if you can call a professional Cuban league, but I think they're going to continue to have these disappointments if they continue to have the situation that they have politically.
And finally, Jamaica. Jamaica freaked out a little bit in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They ended up tying 1-1, and then in Kingston they won 3-0. So Jamaica, Suriname, Guadeloupe, Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica have made it to the next stage and have been able to move on and qualify for the next Gold Cup. Alex, thank you for joining CONCACAF.
It's a pleasure, Camilo. I'd love to, show you things that you might not know and things that you may not want to know because you're close-minded. But it's an honor to school you in a couple of things in CONCACAF, and thanks a lot to people that is sharing the show, to actually that is with us. Please continue to share and please continue to like.
And as we always say, keep CONCACAFing.